Hi Bolovies, welcome to Community Living with your girl Malebo. If you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe. And if you're stopping back by and continuously supporting the channel, you know the jingle by now, so sing along with me. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So thank you to each and everyone that has been commenting, liking and sharing. You know the deal, you know the deal. So I don't come alone in this very special episode. I'm with someone that has been studying in China for just under 8 years. So he's been living this side. He completed his first degree and he's currently doing his master's this side. So he will take us through who he is, what he's been doing in the past 8 years and how China has been for him. So that's basically what this episode is going to be covering. But you guys know that we always start off in prayer. So I am going to start us off in prayer. So please, let's close our eyes, bow our head in reverence of God. Papa, ra leboga for the day, ra leboga for our lives, ra leboga for your mercy, for your goodness, for your love, Papa. Papa, we thank you for the guest that we have, for his willingness to share information about the opportunities that he was able to make use of. And may you continue to bless him, Papa, in his endeavors. And may you help another person who is watching this to really understand some of the steps that he had to take in order to be able to study this side, and what are some of his experiences from studying this side. Papa, ra leboga ka the guest that you provided for us. And ra leboga for the person that joined, Papa. May you bless them equally, Papa, and may you shower them with your love. May you shower them with your abundance, Messiah, with prosperity, Messiah, ra leboga, Papa, ka all the things that you're going to be doing in their lives. And we just thank you for this episode as well. And we know that you said where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are there in their midst. May you be with us from start to finish. And we thank you, Papa, for the guest once more. In the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ, amen. So that was it. So we're gonna go on to that side to meet Sia and hear what he has to say about quite a number of things. Hi Sia, so welcome to Community Living. So I'm gonna ask you 2 sets of options. So it's not a matter of whether you like one or the other. You just have to choose between one of the 2. Xiaomi or Tesla?
I'll go with Xiaomi.
Shenzhen or Shanghai?
Shanghai.
Okay, UCT or one of the top universities in China?
Definitely UCT.
Okay. Hot pot or shisanyama?
Shisanyama any day.
C-pop or amapiano?
Amapiano.
Thank you. So that was just a bit of a warmer just to get to know you a bit more. But
Yeah.
whether or not you like those things, we're not sure. So if people are interested in finding out whether you like them, they'll probably have to follow you and maybe even comment just to find out what it was about. So can you please introduce yourself? Who is Siam? And yeah, a bit about who you are, where you're from, and so forth.
I'm Sia, and I'm from Soweto originally. So born and raised in Soweto. I went to a Sowetan school in a place called Protea North. I went to popular high school whereby other people that are also popular went, like something Soweto, the Soil, Titelo Secondary School. Many people in Soweto might know it.
All right.
So yeah, um, born and raised in Soweto, and after that, I was lucky enough to be awarded a scholarship by the Chinese government. So matriculated in 2013, took a gap year for almost 2 years. Then
Okay.
after I came to study in China, and that's where everything started for me, actually.
All
I
right,
can
I
say that.
see. Okay, thank you for sharing. So how long have you been in China?
I've been in China for 7 to 8 years now.
What do you like the most about China?
I guess like the culture, the people, the language, just how everything is different from at home.
So I think you've briefly explained what sort of brought you to China, but can you go into a bit more detail as to what brought you to China? Why are you still here 7 years later, 7 to 8 years later?
Yeah. So what brought me in China is well, after matriculating, I got interested in e-commerce. So you know how everything is done online, shopping online, and I was lucky enough to like also just learn how to code,
Mm-hmm.
do coding, software development, and I was self-taught using
All
YouTube.
right.
So through all of that, I used those skills and I developed a website and I had an online store. So through
Okay.
that online store, it attracted quite a lot of people that were interested in what I was doing, and some even invested, some were even sellers on that website. Well, unfortunately, when I started, e-commerce wasn't really popular as it
Okay.
is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
it
you are
was
ahead of
destined to fail.
the time, basically, or ahead of your time.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is
basically.
great.
So I think for that time, people were not ready for e-commerce. So
Okay.
I thought
I
like,
can
okay,
only
you know
imagine
what?
8 years back,
True.
especially in South
So
Africa. Yes.
yeah, so I had to find a way to like learn, and I was introduced to like this Chinese government scholarship by other people that work in different embassies. I was like, okay, let me check it out. And when I read about it, I was like, okay, this might be something that might help me to develop my skills. Then when I applied, um, I got accepted. I applied via the Department of Higher Education and Training. Then
Okay.
yeah, then that's where everything started. Then I came here and I took e-commerce as a major because that's what I was really
That's what you were
passionate about.
interested in. Okay. Are you
Yeah,
still
and
interested
yeah,
in that? Are you still passionate about e-commerce? Because I saw on the work that you've been doing, it's all related to e-commerce. So is that like a your main passion, basically?
yeah, it's my main passion because I did my bachelor in e-commerce and I did in Chinese. So after I
Mm-hmm.
graduated from there, I had an opportunity to work for different companies. I worked for Huawei and I worked for Lacoste. I
Mm-hmm.
worked for Honor. So everything that I've been doing, it's e-commerce related. And after that, I decided to like, let me just further my studies. And you asked me, why am I still here even after 7 years? It's because I decided to further my studies and do a master's. So my
Mm-hmm.
master's, it's a master's in management science and engineering, but I'm majoring in e-commerce.
In
So yeah,
e-commerce.
it's a
Okay.
passion. It's a passion of practical in theory, basically.
Yes, yes, okay. That's really great. And what was your first
Yeah.
impression of China when you came here? What was like the very first thing you noticed and maybe liked or disliked about the country? What did you think the first time you arrived here? I can only imagine there were less and less black people back then, 8 years ago. So how was it for you, especially as a student?
Yeah. So luckily, when I first came to China, I was with other South Africans. So we came as a group
Okay,
of three, actually four people,
four
so
people.
they made sure they grouped us and we went to the same university so that it wasn't too difficult to
Yes,
adapt to the new
us.
place.
Okay.
Yeah. So the most shocking thing I saw when I first got here, so I landed, we first actually went to Shanghai, and in
Okay.
Shanghai I think things were a bit normal, but as
Yes.
soon as I got to the city when I went, things changed because it was close to the rural areas, so the
Yes. Yes.
toilets were like, oh my God, what's happening here?
Yes.
You know?
Definitely. I've heard that the more rural you go into China, the more shocked you'll become, especially in terms
True.
of like the bathroom style. Because obviously
Yeah.
in the city you'll be shocked that they're squatting toilets, but then there's a more shocking version of the squatting toilets that you'll find
Yeah.
elsewhere. So I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I haven't experienced it, but who knows? I am not sure how long I'm gonna be in China, and one of these days it'll be a pleasant surprise, I guess.
Yeah. That was
All
my
right.
shocking moment.
Yes. And what were some of your initial frustrations or culture shocks? I think you've mentioned one of the culture shocks, but what were some of the
Mm.
things that you found a bit frustrating? I think I had a couple of frustrations, especially with the language barrier. So what were
Mm.
some of yours? What were the things that you'd be like, okay, I wish I was back home, or I wish like, things were slightly better or slightly easier or whatever the case might have been.
I guess for me, it was because I was studying in Chinese. So
Yes.
basically, my very first class I've ever
Mm-hmm.
went to was in Chinese. As much as
Yes.
we're like first timers, but everything introduction wise was in Chinese. And another thing that I can mention is the food. So
Mm-hmm.
where I went, my first university, I think maybe I spent 1 year or 2 years not eating beef. So it was just chicken and pork. So I
Yeah.
literally started eating pork for the first time here in China.
Okay.
So that was like the biggest change that ever happened to me.
Yeah, okay, I get what you mean. Because beef is expensive in China, so some places
Yeah.
I figured they don't necessarily buy it as much. How can one study in China? So you've been studying in China for about 8 years now. So if I'm interested, if I'm watching this video and I'm like, okay, China seems like a great country to go and live in or study or do whatever I would like to do this side. But what is the way that I can come here and actually study? Yeah, can you please just share the different ways one can come to study in China?
Sure. So I'm just gonna talk about as a South African how you can apply because it might be different for country to country.
Yeah.
So, as a young South African, let's say you just matriculated and you want to study in China.
Okay.
There are ways that you can go with it. It's either you're gonna go through the self-funded way, or
Okay.
you're gonna go through the scholarship way. So
Mm-hmm.
the scholarship way is the most popular one because it's
Mm-hmm.
funded. It's either fully funded by the Chinese government or it's partially
Partially
funded.
funded.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it depends where you're actually applying for your scholarship. So for
Okay.
me, everything happened via the Department of Higher Education and Training.
Yes.
So if someone maybe just matriculated and they don't know what to study, they can just visit the Department Higher Education and Training's website. You can just
Yes.
go on Google and search that and just Department of Higher Education and Training.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have a scholarships website whereby everything is listed there. Besides China, there's other scholarships from
Yes.
USA, Netherlands, Australia, but also China will be available there. So
Mm-hmm.
there will be instructions on how you can apply, but I can just advise people how you can do it. So
Okay.
as a bachelor, you will need obviously good results for your matric.
Yeah.
Like, you need a bachelor. And when I say a bachelor, most people think that, oh, I just got a B and
Mm-hmm. A bachelor
that's
pad.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not enough, unfortunately. It has to be like a bachelor with 70s, 80s, 90s. It has to be like really good.
Okay.
It's more like applying at a top university in South
In
Africa, like
South
first
Africa.
university.
Okay, I see.
Mm,
So even with the
yeah.
most standard universities, is that the case? And is it for all courses or it's maybe certain courses? Because I figured that you went to the e-commerce side, like your bachelor's, you said
Yeah.
is it a bachelor of commerce or is it a bachelor of science in e-commerce?
So it's a Bachelor of Science in E-commerce.
In e-commerce, yes. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's a more difficult, course than like maybe other courses. So is that the case across the board, or is it maybe just particular courses where you need your 70s, 80s from what you've
I
learned?
think Yeah, I think from what I've learned, it's everything. Like you
Everything
cannot say, yeah, I want to do marketing, so I passed with 50s.
with
People
50.
must make sure
Okay.
that, you pass really good because it's very competitive. You're not only
Yes. Yes.
applying just alone, you're applying with a lot of people that already have good results.
Mm-hmm.
And thing is, the Department of Higher Education is the one that ciphers people.
Mm-hmm.
So you should impress them first in order for you to even continue to the next step.
Yes.
So imagine people from South Africa, obviously they're expecting to send the best of the best abroad, you
Yes,
know. So you
definitely.
just have to make sure that your marks are good. And the most important thing that everyone must know, in order for you to also be considered to do a bachelor, you have to do it in Chinese, unfortunately.
Okay.
So that's a given. You have to do it
Mm-hmm.
in Chinese. So there's a requirement that people must fulfill, which is having an HSK certificate,
Okay.
level 4.
Yes.
So you can do an HSK certificate here in South Africa if you can afford to do that, or
Okay.
else you can just first apply to do language studies through the DHET
Through
again.
the D
Just
head again. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
just language studies for 1 year. After passing your language studies, then you can reapply for your bachelor.
Okay. And would you say that's the route you recommend the most? Because I'm just thinking, as a person who's considering coming to study this side, doing the
Mm,
HSK for this side, and like basically learning more about the country, the culture, and the people without actually doing my degree would be
mm.
beneficial in some sense because I can adapt I can give myself that year to adapt and just learn only Chinese in that particular year,
Yeah,
right? Is that what
yeah.
happened in your case, where you were learning Chinese for like a year, or you did it in South Africa first and then came here ready to study?
So things were different back then because you would apply for your bachelor and they would also like send you to a language school at the
Or
same
they'll
time. So
automatically send you. Oh, so
yes,
you do them both. So like you're
yes,
going
you
to
do them
school
both.
and you're learning the. Okay, tricky.
Mm. So
Yeah,
back
you
then,
were baptized in in fire.
yeah. So back then it was different for most for us and for
Okay.
people now it's quite different. For
All
us when we
right.
applied, we just got sent to a language school here in China. That's where I learned my Chinese for 1 year. Then
Mm-hmm.
after I finished doing my Chinese year, then I went to another university. So right now it's different. Because when you check on the websites, they say you must ha already have an HSK 4. So meaning that it's either you have an HSK4 now, or you can just apply for language studies for 1 year in China, fully funded. Then after finishing that, you can reapply again for your bachelor.
Okay, I'm slightly confused now. So,
Mm.
in what's different is that when you were leaving knowing that you're already starting with your study program. But in
Yes.
the first year, you weren't doing any of the subjects or modules that you were supposed to do. You were
Mm.
only focusing on the language part.
Yes.
Oh,
Correct.
okay, I
Correct.
sort of
Correct.
understand. So the for the new process, there's a double application. For your
Yes.
process, it was one application that sort of
One
facilitated.
application.
Okay,
Yes.
I get
Correct.
what you mean.
Correct.
All right. And what
Mm.
made you continue studying in China? So why didn't, as you mentioned, that the Department of Higher Education and Training has multiple scholarships, and you could go anywhere you'd like to go, America, the Netherlands, and all these other
Mm.
countries you could go to. So what made you like want to continue studying here versus elsewhere?
Well, I think maybe I've already adapted to the Chinese culture and the Chinese
Okay.
educational system. So
Yeah.
I think when once you get into the educational system this side, you just get used to how everything works,
Yes.
the pressure and just everything, I'm so comfortable studying here. So I can only
Okay.
imagine if I can switch to a different country. I think I'll
Then you
be really
adapt
frustrated.
again. Okay, from scratch.
Yeah, it would be very frustrating because when I hear my friends in South Africa telling me about how they study and how everything is, I'm like, oh my God, I feel
I
like it's
can't
too
imagine myself
frustrating.
going through that.
Yeah, so that's the
Okay.
most important thing. Mm.
All right. So, what are some of the things that have shaped and changed how you see yourself since you came to China?
Maybe like how people think here, they think really differently and they are very
Hmm.
entrepreneurial.
They
So
are.
I think since I'm also like that. it's easy for me to develop myself. I can see myself now doing something that China is already doing, but also
Yes.
doing it in my own country, you
Yeah,
know?
personal capacity vibes. Okay, I see. Everybody here is quite entrepreneurial. Like you find gogos selling veggies on the street. Like how they do it is, it's quite unique because it's done in South Africa, but it's done at a larger scale here. It's crazy how it
Mm,
happens. And it's
mm,
quite, I
mm,
also have an entrepreneurial spirit. So I see all of these and it's sparking my mind in like great ways. And I'm just like, oh,
mm.
if only I can do half of the things that I see here in South Africa, it'll be, quite nice. For me,
Yeah.
I like the packaging side of China. So yeah,
Mhm.
they do packaging quite differently, and it's very interesting how they package some of their products, and
True.
yeah. But that is something that I've noticed. How often do you go home?
When I first got here, I would literally spend like 3 years without going home.
Yes,
But now, since like I'm a master's student, I have enough time because I'm just doing research.
yes.
So I can literally go back home maybe once or twice in a year.
Okay.
And since I'm also part of a department scholarship, so they do give you a flight to visit
Flight
home.
allowance. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
an
really
allowance.
nice.
If you've been here for like 2 years, then they give you a flight
Oh,
to visit. Mm.
okay. And what are some of the ideas and thoughts of your family members regarding you being here? I'm assuming the first time you told them I planned on going to China to study, that was a very interesting conversation to have. So
Yeah.
what has it been like, having to go through the motions, 8 years of you being this side, and what is their feel? What are their ideas? What are their thoughts regarding you being here? I'm sure there's always that joke like, don't bring a Chinese, bride and all those things. So, so
So,
how does it work in your family?
for when I first told them that I'm coming to China, like I feel like they did not believe me, because no one
Yes,
in my family like studied abroad,
abroad.
especially in China. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was just an idea like, oh, maybe like he's just saying it. But when I actually started the process and I asked them to help me with the passport, they saw that, oh, this guy
No,
is
this was
serious.
serious.
And they just wanted to see how far this thing will
How far
go.
are you gonna go?
And
Mm-hmm.
when I went to Pretoria Embassy, now I'm being accepted. Now they can see, oh my God, it's happening. Oh,
Yeah,
like I feel like a lot of people tried their best to stop me because they didn't know what to expect and
yeah.
they don't know anything about China.
Mm-hmm.
And they're afraid of trafficking, this and that, you know. And I remember when my
Concerns,
mother
definitely. Mm-hmm.
yeah, when my mother accompanied me to the airport, she even cried. Oh my God,
Yeah.
she cried like I'm leaving, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So though it was very hard for them for the first time when I
Mhm.
left, and for the first year, checking up on me almost every day. But now
Mhm.
they've gotten used to
They've gotten
everything
used to
because
the
now
idea of you being here. Hmm.
yeah, now people be asking me for things. Oh, you
Yes.
should check an iPhone for me. How much is an
Hmm.
iPhone? You should check this for me. So
Hmm.
they obviously when people see me on social media, especially on TikTok, when I read my comments, they're like, oh, nidla izinja lapho, like you
Yes,
are eating
yes,
dog.
yes.
I'm like, oh my God, we don't eat those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Those, yeah, that is the generic jokes about China, which is, yeah, neither here or
Yeah.
there. How does the academic process compare or differ to South Africans one? So obviously you went through your 12 years of primary high school studies in South Africa, then you came here and you were exposed to how the Chinese people do the whole academic process, but on a higher level in terms of studies. So how does it compare or differ, if you were to share some of
Mm.
the differences or experiences that are quite unique to studying here versus in South Africa?
Yeah. So obviously, the thing that differs for Chinese students, in order for them to even enter university, there's something that they must do. Like for us, we do matric. You must
Mm-hmm.
pass your grade 12.
Yeah.
and you get your bachelor, you get your diploma, your certificate. For Chinese people, they should pass the Gaokao. So it's
Yes.
something called Gaokao. It's
Yeah.
more like a Chinese university
FT.
entrance exam.
Yeah.
So it's very big here in China, and within those weeks, when people are writing exams, literally the country closes down because they take it very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and it determines what kind of university
You
that you're
can
gonna
go.
go to.
Yeah.
I went to one of the top universities in China in Beijing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's categorized under the 211. And in China, there's universities are categorized, being the top, the middle, or the least.
Mm-hmm.
So that Gaokao determines what kind of university that you're gonna go to. And if you didn't pass it well, you're gonna go to like a college or something like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
And the only difference with South Africa is as we do metric, they do Gaokao. So when you go to university, you do your bachelor, which is similar to South Africa, but the bachelor here in China takes 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
whereby in China in South Africa it's only 3 years.
Okay.
And for this side, in that 4 years, it also includes your honors. So you don't really need an honors here
Yes.
in China because it's already included to what you are doing. So
Yes.
literally, after finishing your bachelor, you go straight to your master's instead of
Mm-hmm.
doing your honors or something like that. And
Okay.
normally, the master's takes about 3 years instead of two. So everything is a bit
Okay.
longer here.
It's a bit
Yeah,
longer.
everything is a bit
Okay.
longer. Mm.
All right. And if you had to decide to move here, knowing what you currently know, which decision would you make? Would you come? Would you still come here, or would you choose to stay in SA? So knowing everything that you know in the past 8 years, having learned what you learned, having had all the different experiences that you went through, what
Mm.
would your decision be like?
I think I would definitely move here. And I
Okay.
wish actually I even moved here even earlier than 8 years ago.
Is it
Honestly.
okay? I
Yeah,
see. That's
definitely.
really nice that it had that type of positive impact on your life where you're like, okay, I wish I actually moved a bit earlier. So what are the 5 things you love about studying in China? If you can think of 5 different things that you love about studying here.
So 5 things I like is the fact that it's gonna give you an edge in the job market wherever you're gonna go.
Okay.
Either you're gonna work in South Africa, work abroad, in any other countries. There are many Chinese companies that are there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can speak the language, literally you can be an advantage for many companies.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is why I like being here is because you get to study with different people from all over the world. It's not only Chinese people, but you're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
friends from Mongolia, from Australia, from all over. So
Okay.
that's another advantage. You get to learn other people's cultures. And another thing, you get to learn a new language. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a huge
That's a
advantage
plus.
for you, as I
Yeah.
mentioned.
Okay. And
Mm.
it's a
I really
language
love,
of it's rumored to be the language of the future as well, which is yeah, for
yeah,
some people
true.
just know that a lot of people are saying if you are to study a language, it's probably Mandarin, because of way
Mm.
um I don't know, the economy is going or the future is going. It's sort of leading
Yeah,
to a lot more people
true.
needing to learn how to speak the language Mandarin versus any other language. All right. So I think you
Mm.
mentioned 3. Do you have 2 more for us regarding
Um,
love when it comes to studying in China?
Well, I think many universities here are also top, so you just
Okay,
need
top
to choose,
universities in the world. Yeah.
choose wisely, top universities. Maybe the last one will be ah, you get to eat different food every day.
Okay. All right. And what are 5 things you like about living in China? Not just studying in China. What are like, some of the convenient stuff that you like or some of the experiences that you get to have as someone that lives in China? for the past 8 years
So,
now.
so, so, so since I'm really passionate about e-commerce, I would say the
Mhm.
first one definitely would be like the convenience of shopping online.
Yes.
You know that you can buy something today, sometimes it can be delivered tomorrow,
Hmm.
and yeah, so that's the convenience that I like, that everything is super fast. And the
Hmm.
second one
If you
is
safety
the
is,
safety. The
yeah.
safety, it's very safe to travel.
Hmm.
It's safe for everyone actually. So it's a really really great place for you to just to like feel free, you know.
Yeah.
And another one is
Peace of
the people
mind.
here, peace of mind, definitely. And another thing
Mhm.
is people here are very kind, you know, very
Good.
kind. And I know, yeah, for me, I've been meeting really kind people, so I've never
Okay.
had like a really bad experience, you
Yeah.
know. So maybe the last two might be transportation, very
Hmm.
convenient.
Very
You know, you
convenient.
don't need a car. You don't need a car to travel.
Hmm.
So those kind of things. And maybe the last one might be, I can't think of anything right now. But yeah, basically those are the most important ones that I can think
Okay,
of.
no problem. And obviously, this is a bit more of a sensitive topic, but I think it needs to be addressed nonetheless. So, have you experienced any ill treatment as a result of your race, especially from lectures, where you could be like, the only reason you're treating me this way is because I'm black. There isn't any other valid reason I can attribute maybe your treatment towards me in this particular way apart from my race. Have you ever had any such
Mm.
experience? If you don't mind sharing,
Oh,
I know sometimes sharing these experiences can be like a bit of a taboo, and also being in a country where these things are not easily shared without feeling
yeah,
like you're attacking the
yeah.
people, but just authentically sharing your unique experiences and how it has obviously impacted you and all of those things. So, do you have such experiences?
Well, when it comes to university side, for my course and my degree, I was always the only foreigner,
Yeah,
especially black person, that did my degree.
yeah,
So I was surrounded by Chinese all the time, hence my Chinese is
it's
really
so
good.
good.
But
Yeah,
I've always experienced that thing that, oh, okay, maybe they think I might be slow. So
yeah.
sometimes I feel like they teaching the class very slow because of me,
Because of you
because I'm
being
there,
big.
you know. So what, there was a time I even told my lecturer that, we should be fast and
Yeah,
don't mind me because I have a way of studying. So
yeah.
after I always have to remind them like, no, we should move the same way
You would
every
move.
class is moving, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the only thing that I've experienced academically. But
Uh,
another thing is,
so it's
no,
like they're
sorry.
trying to include you versus exclude you. It's like they're being considerate,
Mm,
which is quite nice of them to actually think
yeah,
about the fact that you're not a native Chinese speaker, so you might struggle with one or two concepts and so forth. So, but I get it.
mm,
Okay. Yeah, but it
yeah.
can also be offensive, but it's a nice gesture in some in some sense.
Yeah, it's not really offensive. It's nice, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm making the whole
The class
class move slow
average. You're
because of me.
dragging you the class average. Everybody else is just like, we kind of know why we're moving at this pace.
Yeah, so it wasn't really nice because of that. So that's the only thing that I can think of academically.
Yeah.
But another thing, obviously, being black, uh, it, you get a lot of attention.
You
All
do.
my lecturers knew me.
You definitely stick out like a sore thumb. I think being black in China, one thing everybody needs to understand is that you look like you look like that. Maybe if you had a hand, you're the size of your hand as a thumb. You're sticking
Yeah.
out everywhere you go. You can't even
Mm,
breathe without sticking out. Like just by
yeah.
thing,
Mm,
you're sticking out. Yeah, which is
yeah.
frustrating initially, but you get used to the eyes later on in the attention
Mm,
at some
mm.
point.
So like another thing that's funny is like when I first got here in China and I was walking outside, I used to like meet up with kids and they'll be like, "Oh, can I touch your skin?"
Yes,
So
yes.
those kind of things, people wanna just touching you, feeling your
Especially
hair,
in
those kind of
rural
things.
side of China, as you said, you were like almost at the rural part of China.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
more prevalent than Shanghai. Shanghai, I think they just like they act like they don't see you, but they see you, but they they don't see you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So in rurals, oh my God, it's just weird. People even stop their cars while driving just to
exactly.
take a picture. Ah,
Yeah.
so that was the only annoying thing. Mm.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about working while studying. Is that allowed?
Unfortunately, it's not allowed at all because of
Mm-hmm.
visa restrictions. So
Okay. So
you
even
should
if
know,
you
like,
work remotely and like you work abroad and you don't work in China and those type of things.
well, if that's the case, I think, and if you have time, actually,
Yeah.
then that's allowed. You can do it, but you cannot work here in China and be employed in China physically and be
Hmm.
a student at the same time. But
Yeah.
remotely, you can teach, you can do whatever. But yeah, as long as you have all the time that you can in the world, you can do that.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, how
Mm.
long did it take you to learn Mandarin and become proficient in the language? And what is your HSK level as well? So, maybe explain the HSK levels as to what they mean, and
Mm.
also how long it took you to learn Mandarin, and also like a level of be proficient in the language as well.
So we can start by explaining what is HSK. So HSK, it's Chinese Language Proficiency Test.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say HSK, it means 汉语水平考试.
Mm-hmm.
It literally means the same thing I just explained, like it's a
Yes.
Chinese language proficiency test.
Yeah.
So it measures your level of Chinese. So it starts with level one. Level one, obviously, is the easy Chinese, whereby you're just learning how to greet, how to say simple things, ni
Mm-hmm.
hao ma, those kind of things, how to go outside. And level two, obviously, it's a step up. You
Mm-hmm.
learn more, you learn new words, you learn how to write, how to more things to say outside besides you
Okay.
greeting and going to the shop. At level three, it's also stepping up. Then level four, that's where you get to learn quite a lot of topics, different things. Maybe it has more than 50 topics that you can learn, and maybe the characters that you're going to be learning is more like 2,000, 2,500. you
Okay.
know. So going up like that is like leveling up. So my HSK level right now, it's HSK 5,
Okay.
and I'm going to be doing the last level, which is HSK 6
Okay.
this year,
All right.
because it's one
All
of
the
my
best.
requirements. Thank you. Thank you. And it's very hard because in this test you do a lot of listening, you
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of writing,
Yeah.
and you should also do a lot of speaking.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it took me 1 year to pass HSK 4.
Okay.
And even I think 1 year is very short actually. But for
Be able
me,
to.
I used to study 8 hours every day for 1 year. So that's the effort you must put in order for you to like be able to be proficient with HSK4.
Yes, yes. But I would say that being exposed to the environment in which the language is obviously
Mm,
spoken, that very much helps. That's why when you were speaking about the two options of doing it in South Africa and also coming this side to do it, for me, it only makes sense to come this side to do the language
yeah,
test, right? If you're
true,
given a year
true.
to do it, rather be the side, because when you go to the store, you're going to be forced to speak. You're going when you go into a Didi ride, you're forced to like sort of have. I don't speak the language at all, but I survived. But don't be like me. You're gonna be a student this side, so you need to learn the language. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I would think. That's what I would maybe advise people to do. Coming this side, it makes sense because I can now hear the language. in terms of it's no longer just, when you hear a language for the first time, it's just like, and you can't make out the words.
Mm,
Now I can make out the
mm,
words, I just don't know what they mean, right? So I'll
mm,
hear like, oh, Shema Minza. I'm like, what's Shema Minza? What's Howda? I'm like, what's that? But like, and those are basic. I know you're judging me right now because you're
I'm
proficient.
not.
But for me, I can now hear the phrases and the words at least.
Mm,
Although I don't even know what, because I haven't made time to study. My schedule is too busy for me to study. But I know how to
mm,
survive, how to get out, and it's also a disadvantage for people that are coming to work here, right? Because you
mm,
can learn to get around without learning the language, and if you never like make an effort to learn the language, you can spend 5 years here without ever learning the language, which is I think it's sad
mm,
to have that
mm,
happen because you definitely are in the perfect ground to learn the language, so it doesn't make
true,
sense
true.
to leave China after 5 years not knowing how to have it like a normal like just a basic conversation, not anything deep.
Mm,
Just I want this, I
mm,
want that, I want to go here. Like basic
mm.
survival skills, basically. What advice would you give someone trying to come to China to study, especially via a scholarship? So, what is the advice you'd give? An individual that's like, okay, I'm convinced, I'm packing my bags, I am going to China. When exactly should they even start applying? Because I know the Chinese academic year starts in September, and
Mm,
all of those things. Understanding the high school, the South African high school system, and when they need to
mm.
prepare for all of these. So, what advice could you give someone that is trying to come this side, whether it's masters or undergrad, all of those things? So yeah.
So the first thing you should know is that you're going to be in a different environment, which is totally different from back at home, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a new language. So you should just prepare yourself mentally that, you're going to be totally away from home. And the most important thing, let's say you're going to apply for a scholarship, you must ask yourself, why do I want to study in China, especially because
Yeah.
you're going to go through many processes and you're going to
Mm.
be interviewed by professors.
Mm.
So they're going to be asking you questions like, why do you want to study in China? What do
Yeah.
you think about China? You
Yeah.
should always show an interest
And the
about China,
and
you
culture
know,
and
meaning,
people.
yeah, the culture, the people. That means you must do a lot of research, research about the country, about culture, about whatever that you're going to be
History.
studying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, it was e-commerce. So I definitely knew my story. So you should know your story when you want to apply for a scholarship. So the academic years are different. They start in September. So obviously, metric results, they come out around January,
Mm-hmm.
but applications actually start in November.
From
So
the
both for
previous year.
bachelor,
Mm-hmm.
masters, PhD, you must always look at the DHET's website. So just go to the Department of Higher Education and Training International Scholarships website and subscribe with your email
Mm-hmm.
so that you can get the latest updates. That's the most important thing. So that when they release the scholarship, you get notified,
Okay.
because they can do it anytime in November. So that's the only way you can stay alerted. So yeah, they open in November until February. So, they make allowance for those people that will be getting their metric certificates around January. So
Yeah.
if you're like a master's student, so it's going to be quicker for you because you already have your
Already have.
documents.
Yeah.
So yeah, you start the process early because they also need your police clearance. So your police clearance takes a long time. So obviously you
Yeah.
should
It's
start
about
in November,
6 to 8 weeks. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so you must start early in November, police clearance, you must have your degree, and you must prepare an essay on why you want to study in China. If it's for master's, PhD, you also write a master's proposal, a research proposal of what you
Okay.
want to
What
study
you?
when you get to
Yeah.
China.
How big
Yes.
is this research proposal? How in depth? must you go into? And is that your final research proposal? Is that what you're actually going to do when you get to the university, or this is just preliminary proposal that
Yeah,
might change based on whatever needs that
yeah,
come up later on?
that's actually a great question because I wrote my proposal and I'm totally doing a totally different
Exactly.
research from
That's what I'm
what.
trying to figure out. Like, how committed must I be to this proposal? Because is it the
Yeah,
final thing, or can it be changed? Because I know even in South Africa they will ask for such things, but later on,
yeah,
based on the needs,
yeah,
based on what's required, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can sort of change it around and make it whatever it should
yeah.
be. It's
So
pretty
yes, it's
weird.
like that. You
Yes,
can change it. You can write it in a sense that just to give them an idea of what you're passionate about,
what your
what you're
passionate about.
thinking. Yeah, what you're thinking at that moment of maybe whatever research direction. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot obviously don't get too committed and go too deep because it might change. So it's something that you just write so that your application will go through. But obviously it must have references, it must have citations.
Yes,
It must be a proper research
research
proposal.
proposal. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
so
slapping things together that, yeah,
yeah, yeah, because you can also use ChatGPT and think that they
mhm,
won't see that. It's
exactly.
going to be reviewed by professors, so it has to be a legit thing.
Mm,
But yeah, I wouldn't really advise you to put that much effort. Just make sure it's a proper one and it's gonna get you through. There you need your research proposal, motivational letters, and also important thing that you need is two reference letters from your previous school or work so that
mhm,
they know that you're a good person. You
mhm,
know?
mhm.
And
Okay.
yeah, I think those are the most important documents actually that I can think of. Oh, another important thing that people always miss is that you should always be healthy
Yeah,
because when you apply for a scholarship, you're required to fill in a what do you call this? A
yeah, medical
health examination
declaration, all
form.
those things. Yeah,
Yes, so they're gonna take your blood, your urine tests, and everything, and it must be clear
yeah,
because if it's
for
not
everything.
clear, you won't be for everything. It has to be like top notch. So if
Mm-hmm.
you know that you're a sickly person, so it's gonna be a real problem because
Okay.
once you get here, they still wanna check you.
Mm,
So yeah, those are the most important documents that I can think of right now. But obviously, the requirements will be on the website
mm-hmm.
with full details. But yeah, those are the things I can advise you to do to prepare early so that when February comes, you already have all papers done and dusted.
Yeah, just waiting for September for the academic year to start in September. Okay. And
Yes.
do they offer flights for the first time that you come this side? Does the scholarship offer flights?
Yes, they do. They do. So
Okay.
they cover your flights, they also cover your visa application.
All right.
So obviously you apply for a visa by yourself, but you get
But you reimburse.
reimbursed.
Okay, I was about to
Yes,
ask about that
yes.
process because with some people they don't even have the money for the visa application, so it would be like, are they gonna give me the money or how's it all gonna work? So yeah, basically you can
Oh
borrow
yeah.
the money in a sense if you don't have
Mm,
it. I know borrowing is not a nice thing to go through, but at least there's a
mm,
surety that it will be
it will
reimbursed.
come back.
Yeah,
Yeah, but another thing, obviously, there are steps in everything because I know some people think, Uti, oh, you're gonna apply, then you're just gonna prepare for visa. It doesn't work like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Literally, after applying, you wait and wait and wait until
There's a
you get a
way.
reply that, oh,
Hmm.
okay, now we're inviting you for an interview. Then you go to an interview and you prepare those things like that I told you about why you want to study in China.
Hmm.
After acing the interview, then you're gonna get shortlisted. After being shortlisted, maybe then they're gonna recommend you to the embassy that okay, these are the students that we're taking to China. Then after they accept you, then you get your admission notice, your pre-admission notice. Then
Hmm.
after getting your pre-admission notice, that's when you can start the process, and they're gonna also assist you in starting the process. So you don't start the process alone.
Yes.
After everyone approves, so that's when you start the process.
Yes. Okay. So, as you mentioned that they have to write the Gao Kao, I think that's what it's called. So there's
Yeah.
nothing that you needed to write entrance exam wise. So you just went through the interview process.
Yes, you just go through the interview process. It's different for us foreigners. You don't really need much, especially for master's students, because for master's students, they shouldn't even get afraid because you can do your master's in English. You
Yeah.
don't need an HSK4 or anything like that. So you can just apply. You don't need to study Chinese. Master's, PhD, you can do it in English. But for bachelor's, it's only Chinese.
Yes. Okay, I see. So I think you once answered this question before, but how much money did you have when you came here? So I think a lot of people
Yo,
are always very like, "Oh, I don't have 50,000 to move to like a foreign country." Yeah. So how
yo.
much money did you initially have the first time, first month
The
of being here?
first time I came, I had like 800 in cash,
Yeah.
literally 800. And when obviously when you come to China, when you convert it, and I did the biggest mistake, and I converted it at the airport. So I
Yeah,
literally just got
I
one
cried.
note.
Mhm.
I got like 200 RMB. I was like, oh my God. But it worked out. It
It
worked
worked
out.
out. It worked out. Okay.
Mm.
All right, Sia. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences regarding studying in China. And I hope everyone now has a better understanding. Any closing remarks? Anything that you'd like to share with Bolavies, Baga Community Living? Also, your socials.
Well,
I think it's, yeah, where they can follow you. So I think you're big on sharing information on TikTok. So maybe just sharing your handle. And I'll also have it in the description box for anyone that's interested.
yeah, I mean, like, if you're really interested about academics, that's the only thing I share a lot. You
And
can just follow
Xiaomi.
my
I learned
TikTok.
about Xiaomi from you. I think it's an obsession, but anyways.
Yeah, for me now it is, you know. So, yeah, social media, I'm big on TikTok. That's where I share a lot of information about. Also, just traveling, I just share my experiences in China.
Mhm.
And my handle, maybe I forgot my handle, so maybe we're
No
just gonna
problem.
read it
I'll
down.
just put it somewhere here and I'll also place it in the
Yeah,
description box. Yeah, I'm sure you're just
yeah.
like, I'm someone on thingy on TikTok. I never have to know my handle. But it just shows
No,
that you're
like,
just creating out of the genuineness of your heart. It's not about, the follow.
yeah, I
follow.
just started social media, so I don't really memorize everything.
Yes.
So yeah, the handles will be shared on the description. But yeah, really, if you're really thinking about moving to China, really think about it. It's different from home.
Mm-hmm.
The food is going to be different, and in terms of studying, it's going to be different from home.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you just have to prepare yourself mentally and just be brave because a lot of people don't want to leave South Africa. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
know that our country is very nice, but it's
It is.
nicer when you go. It's
Yeah.
nicer when you go abroad. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are my closing remarks.
All right. Thank you, Sia. All the best with your studies. And yeah,
Thank
hopefully,
you.
we will chat about other things later on. All right. So thank you.
Thank you.